Today in Airfield I'm going to plant some asparagus. Now asparagus is one of those interesting crops. It stays in the ground for up to 20 years, so for me that takes a nice bit of commitment. But do you know something? I finally feel ready to make that commitment and take the plunge. I don't know, asparagus has always had a bit of a reputation for being a demanding crop. Hungry, probably ties up a good bit of ground, and I suppose realistically you're never going to feed a whole family. Site selection is clearly key to success of any crop that's going to stay in the ground for 20 years. So when it comes to asparagus, yeah, there's a few deciding factors. Number one, it grows to like about 1.5 metres, so that's quite tall. Tall crops generally don't like wind, so make sure to site your asparagus bed in a somewhat sheltered but open location. The other thing is, if there's nearby crops in the way, you know, the chances are it might cast shade, so always consider that when you're planning a perennial bed. I suppose the other factor is that asparagus is renowned for its roots are going to spread everywhere, so chances are if it's beside neighbouring crops it's just going to take over. So I think it's always good, and maybe with a lot of perennials, just to give them a little block of their own. So I've chosen this nice little triangular bed in the corner of the Airfield food garden. There's a newly planted hedge literally behind it, so I'm hoping as the hedge grows up and matures, it's going to take and block some of those winds coming off the Dublin Mountains. For any perennial crop, good ground preparation is essential. When you think about it, 20 years in the ground, you've no way of working the soil underneath these crops until you take them out in 20 years time, so it's essential to get it right. So when I mean good soil preparation, you need to dig over your soil, remove any perennial weeds, get those docks out, get all of the nettles, any couch grass. They're only going to tie up and knot around the roots of the plants and just be an absolute nightmare for years to come. So dig over the ground, incorporate plenty of compost or well-rotted manure. Asparagus needs good drainage as well, so we've got quite heavy soil here in Airfield, so I incorporated a good amount of horticultural grit. So when your ground is weed free and well fertilised, then you're ready to start planting. So asparagus can be grown from seed or from crowns like this. Now seeds, it's going to delay the whole process, so you're best advised to source 1-year-old crowns. You can get these in any good nurseries. Loads of varieties to choose from green to white to new varieties of purple. Generally an all-male F1 variety is recommended, but the choice is yours, and there's loads of information out there and on the packet, so just make your own decisions. So often when you open your crowns, they're going to be quite desiccated, so I advise soak them in a bucket of water before you go planting. Depth point of view, you don't want to go too deep, so literally I'm deeping my trench about 20 centimetres deep. So once the trench is made, it is essential that asparagus gets good drainage. So it's important then to make a small little mound back into your trench. This mound is literally about 10 centimetres high. You can see this is really going to help drainage, because the one thing asparagus doesn't like is sitting in heavy, compacted, wet water. So once you've got your mound made, next you just need to get your rehydrated crown. There's something kind of like a spider or a bit of an octopus, so you need to gently just tease the roots out and leave your crown on the mound like that. Within the row, the recommended spacing is about 30 to 35 centimetres between each crown. Once you have your crown planted, you need to backfill your trench. Use nice light soil, you really don't want to cake it on, and basically you're backfilling your trench to literally about 5 to 10 centimetres of soil. Some areas recommend leaving the spears above ground. I'm not. I'm going to just cover it completely in soil and see what happens. Once crowns are planted, if there's no rain on the way, make sure to water your bed. And apart from that, I'm just prepared to sit back and see what happens. Obviously weeding is going to be a problem along the way, so it's best advised to hand weed asparagus beds as the crops are emerging. As you can see, we like to call it the Patience Project here, because it will be at least 2 years before our chefs are enjoying the first of the spears, but good things in life are worth waiting for. So maybe that's why I suppose asparagus does have the bit of reputation for being a luxury item. It's certainly expensive to buy, but I think even for the feathery ferns and the texture alone, it's worth growing them.